Welcome to Maker's Perspective. Today, I will be making a plate, assisted by J.W. May at Acme Glass in Louisville, Kentucky. This is part of the series where I make each of the simple shapes. Begin starting with a single gather for my starter bubble. Just marvering out a small cylinder, and then I'll pop a bubble. I'll ride the jacks on the sides, and then the butt end of the jacks on the bottom. I like my bubble to be thinner on the sides and a little thicker on the bottom. When I go in for my gather, I'll turn nice and evenly, going into the depth of the moil, and gradually bring it down while turning, thereby having a nice, homogeneous, even gather. I'll take the block, once back at the bench, and block the whole piece. I always like to reheat just to make sure that everything is the same temperature, but then I can really make whatever I want to. Block the whole piece, blow, a little bit of hanging, then here just making contact with the bottom of the piece with a block. That keeps the thickness there and allows you to blow out the shoulder a bit more. Here I'm still heating the whole piece as I want to start my jack line. So giving it a hang and grabbing my jacks, you can kind of see it's a bit of a tube, but having a little bit of inflation from JW, now I can start my jacks. It's basically just like making a sphere up to this point. One thing I do when making a plate is I don't jack the jack line down all the way. I want to maintain a little bit of stability so that when I do this next move, which is heat and spin and raise it up, it'll squat better if it is not jacked down all the way. If it is jacked all the way, it'll get hotter faster there and it'll be smaller point of contact, thus inhibiting your ability to squat the bubble. Here I am squatting it a little bit more. Still, the jack line isn't completely finished. But squeezing it down, now going straight up and down, really squeeze it in, and now my jack line is done. I'll be ready for a punty.
All right, punty.
Take a piece of glass, turn and draw a little bullseye on there for the punting. I'll just be flashing, so torching that connection point and going in and heating the whole piece. I just want to make sure that there's just a little movement right at the jack line where I want to break it off. One last splash. Again, when JW comes to the punty, I'll just take it, just touch the very tip on. Once I make sure that I like where it is, then I'll start centering it with tweezers on the outside and inside of the rod. A little drop of water right on the neck, and then a bonk, and the piece comes right off. For centering, I'll have one blade inside the lip and one outside by gently lifting up and then pushing down. The piece looks fairly centered now. I'll start working on that top section. Plates and bowls are a bit different than most other glass pieces. Usually once it's on the punty, half of the piece is done, or everything but the top. With plates and bowls, you gradually heat up that top section, whether you need to trim it or open it up a bit. But essentially, you'll gradually start heating deeper and deeper as the process goes on, with a plate or a bowl. So here, just the top bit is heated.
All right, paddle.
It is broken off evenly, so I won't trim it. JW comes on with a paddle, and I'll just be truing it up and opening up the lip a bit.
Great. More time, and then I'll switch to Joe's.
Generally, if it's broken off evenly for a bowl or a plate, I will not Sophie, nor will I trim the piece. When it gets spun out, or as it opens up, it's going to spin out and thin that lip. This heat, I'll just take the jacks and just open up the piece. I just need to open it up wide enough so that I can stick the parchopies in.
Good.
With the parchopies, I will go into the cooler spot. I find a good reference point, and then that's where I'll start pushing and opening. That way I won't get the piece out of whack. So here you can see pushing on the cold and then lifting in to the warm. Every time I take my perch and use them, I'll dip them afterwards and then I'll flip them around. That way the sticks get burnt out evenly. Back with the parchofes into the back of the bubble, and then find the hot area and gradually open my hands while simultaneously lifting up. It's almost a feathering for a bowl or a plate. I would continue this process for a bowl, but we're making a plate for now. So I'll heat up the whole thing and spin it out by having a mass of the bubble in the flame, turning slow, and then coming out and turning fast. Bringing up the RPMs and it'll open up. Getting back to the bench and putting a paddle on either side. There you can see I have a relatively evenly blown plate and the lip is relatively thin. I never puffed it nor trimmed it.
No.
Just a little torch on that connection point. Using my water tweezers. Putting a few drops right at that connection point. And a bong. Fire polish, and it's all done. There you have a plate. Thanks for watching.